They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no game. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't all genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No, my ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Peace, peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, we're back on live on New Freedom Exchange. It's great to be with you all. Thank you all again for tuning in. Please like our page, share the live stream if you're tuning in on YouTube or our YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're watching us on Facebook, New Freedom Exchange, share all that. We're happy to be here because this is the kickoff weekend for the Daily Digital for New Freedom Exchange platform. Right. And also, most importantly, of course, is Eid al-Adha. So without further ado, Eid Mubarak to all those who...
Mubarak.
Yes, so sister, I'm joined by our esteemed and lovely co-host, Sister Marsha. How's everything going, Sister Marsha?
Everything's good. We're in the midst of Eid celebration, Eid al-Adha. So we're rocking it out over here in this part of the world. Been to 2 celebrations thus far. So yesterday we did something at Sideeq-Mohammed Newark. We did a toy giveaway for the children, which was wonderful. And we had to improvise a little bit because of the weather. So we brought what we normally do outside. We brought it inside. So it was alhamdulillah. The children were so excited about being able to get their gifts. And so I'm just glad that we were able to pull that off. And then today, Unified Eid Committee of New Jersey, we hosted a grab-and-go breakfast at Applebee's. So I'm not sure if many people know, but Applebee's often does a fundraiser where people come in. It's usually early because it's before Applebee's open. So like an 8 to 10 where you can serve breakfast to whomever is going to be a part of the fundraiser, and then you get a portion and Applebee's get a portion.
Yes, the flapjack fundraiser.
Exactly. So we did it a little different this time. It wasn't, we didn't charge anybody. We ate the cost to be able to have the community have some sort of celebration for the Eid, and then we did a toy giveaway right outside of Applebee's. So it was great, and book bags too.
Yes, for back to school.
Yeah,
back to school is right around the corner. Alhamdulillah, it's good. That's really good. It's real positive.
How about you? What's going on in your end of the world?
End of the world, alhamdulillah, spent time with my family for Eid. Hooked up with another good close family here in Queens. We spent some time together, ordered in some food, played some games, played Uno. You can't have a celebration without Uno, in my opinion. Have some Uno, how that go. So I'm saying, just kick it back, relax. I went to a quick excursion to Philly real quick
nice.
with my brothers, was down there, got some halal Chinese food or whatnot. So all was well. I think all went well. It definitely feels like a different Eid.
Yeah.
A lot of people said that they weren't thinking about it, the situation, the current pandemic spread lasting all the way to the second Eid. Like they thought it was Eid al-Fitr would be, that's it. But Allah knows best. What will happen in the next coming days and the coming weeks, coming months with the whole pandemic. Hopefully things get better. And I'm optimistic that things will. I know here in New York it has. In New Hampshire and Maine, I heard is the safe states. New Hampshire and Maine.
Okay.
Yes, New Hampshire and Maine. So if you're traveling, New Hampshire and Maine probably the safest bets if you're traveling. But all across other states, I saw was just not doing too good as far as handling the situation. So
got you.
But
it's so funny that you mentioned Uno too, because I just saw this post that I thought was hilarious, and it said that Black people have so many different rules to Uno that when you sit down to play, you literally have to ask, now what's the rules to this game again? And I start laughing because my children do the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute. Where did this come from? Like, I ain't played Uno like this before.
Draw fours, draw twos. Yeah. I mean, you can make up. I mean, to be honest, it's fun because the regular rules. Uno responded to us saying that, well, those are not the rules. These are the rules. I'm like, right. No one's trying to hear that. Like, we made our own version. We already made Uno a staple. Instead of saying before then, but alhamdulillah. Yeah. So yeah, we're here and we're blessed to have one of our special guests for this week, for this weekend, Sister Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed, who is an esteemed educator. We're going to read her bio, but I see Brother Dean has joined us. He's still on mute, so when he's ready to unmute himself, Dean.
Mubarak. How y'all doing?
Good.
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I don't know if y'all can see I had to do what they call it, a new avatar, because I'm still in motion, so I didn't want the flim flam coming through.
We see your avatar.
Yeah, we see your avatar. We see with the Supreme Court in the background.
Yeah, that was down there with Byron Allen. We was down there for that case. And it was a little Rigo, so took a little snapshot.
Right. And then there he goes. He just disappeared. So when he comes back, we'll rejoin. Yeah, he'll be back. So without further ado, I want to start reading the bio of our beloved sister who's with us in the queue, and then after that, we're going to bring her on to the queue. Her bio begins with the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed values human life. With human life having both a community context and an inherent urge to progress, she has served as an educator in many communities, K-12 schools, and currently as an assistant professor / doctoral student in the School of Education at Indiana University in Indianapolis. As a way to honor the community life excellence we share as a human family. The most influential experience of Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed's life is learning from and working alongside her late husband, Imam Warafuddin Muhammad. May Allah forgive him his sins and grant him a high station in paradise. Amen. Imam Muhammad is a world-renowned Muslim leader. His community of African American Muslims called him the spokesperson for the human soul. In a world where we so often rush past the beauty of being human beings, true to the excellence of the design given to us by a creator, and true to the relationships the creator has blessed us with in our human family, Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed has taken her husband's message to heart and works to invite others to value their human essence in all that they do. Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed believes that honoring human life is not about a spiritual expression in the sky. Instead, she believes it is about inviting people to reconnect with their inherent value, to establish their communities in real ways in this material world. Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed is the founder of A Call to Life Incorporated and S. Unicom LLC. Through A Call to Life Incorporated, she works to educate Muslim youth by showing them how al-Islam and the example of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu prayers and blessings be upon him, are always relevant to all areas of their lives. Through S. Unicom LLC, which stands for Establishing a University in Our Community, she works to unite cultural communities around the community-based knowledge God has blessed them with in their respective communities. In the African American Muslim community, God has inspired one from the community with the insight of the Quran and the Spirit to follow the excellent character of Prophet Muhammad, prayers and blessings be upon him. And this one is Imam Warafuddin Muhammad, has breathed new life into the community of African American Muslims. Of primary interest to Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed is to strengthen the unity of the African American Muslim community through encouraging the adult members to come together in community to study the language of Imam Warafuddin Muhammad and continue the progress they have achieved as a result of God blessing them with the leader and teacher, Imam Warafuddin Muhammad. So without further ado, we're going to bring on our beloved Sister Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed, to you all.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum assalam. Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
Yes. How are you today?
I'm doing well, alhamdulillah. How are you all doing?
Doing well.
Can't complain. Blessed to have you. That too,
Yeah.
Busy weekend. Blessed to have you. Thankful for you making some time out to be with us in this exchange, this important exchange. As we read your bio, I couldn't help but just marvel at the language. It's just it just rolls off you very beautifully. So I'm saying, and I see you and some others as have captured the language of Imam Muhammad, not just his language, but also take it further into establishing institutions of continuation of learning that, and I know how to apply that to our daily lives and how to make the connections in our daily lives and make it practical for non-Muslims, how we engage our non-Muslims in the community. So I'm very appreciative to have you with us today. I think it's a great honor.
It's an honor to be here. So alhamdulillah.
So I think Sister Marsha, would you like to ask the first question?
Sure. Actually, I'm sitting up
segue?
here. Yeah, give me a 1 second. If you can go ahead and go with the first question, because Dean is actually sending messages. So he's kind of getting kicked in and out of the show because he's traveling. So I'm responding to him.
Yes. Our beloved brother is en route. But we're going to kick it off with the first question, though. And we have this thing called New Freedom here at New Freedom Exchange. We named our show New Freedom. New Freedom Exchange, and we wanted to. We've had our, just put in context and summary. We have had our freedom. The old freedom. What is the old freedom? The old freedom, in one sense, is in the past our liberation and emancipation from physical shackles, from physical enslavement. We've had that, and we have had through the civil rights, the Black Power movement, we have gained ground in government and just in culture, and the African American experience is now across the board in all aspects of the four birds, as Imam Muhammad has described to us and broken that parable down as to what that is. So we have this thing called New Freedom because we want to move from just being satisfied with this satisfaction of just being free in the sense that, we're free from physical bondage. So, we could do whatever now. We don't need to continue to fight for progression, or we don't need to establish anything no more. Like, we're comfortable in, with what's going on right now in our communities and just the world in general around us. We're very comfortable. So New Freedom, hence New Freedom Exchange. So the first question is, what strategies are there for us to get healed and healthy and normal as citizens to share in the blessings of this nation and the globe?
Well, first I want to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, with the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praises to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. I want to say that, my perspective is just one. So,
sure, of course.
And I think a big piece of us healing as a people is for us actually come together.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we have a lot of conversations in different spaces, especially, if we're looking at our whole people. One of the things I think about is how, to me, it seems to be a rift between African-American Muslims and African-American Christians. And I see us working together when other people, like maybe people from white society or people from, movements are involved, will work together. But it's almost like we got something that they can catch, or, we can't work together. And I'm just like, well, that don't make no sense, And I feel like one of the reasons why we are struggling as a people is that we're not at the address where we were when we asked God for help. When we asked God for help, we were together. There was one prayer coming from one people. We didn't make it as a particular faith tradition. We made it as servants of God. And I almost feel like we've left that address, and God has sent the blessing there, but we're just not seeing ourselves as a united people. And I feel like as African Americans, we really are going to go a long way when we can work together as African American Muslims and African American Christians and talk about our differences in religion and not be afraid that maybe some of our members may want to change their life tradition. Maybe they may not. But the point is for us to have our whole people established in a better condition. And I think that that's worth it. I don't care, what faith tradition you choose. If you're my brother, my sister, I hurt when you're not doing well. So I think that's big. I think that is huge when it comes to what we can do as a people to heal and benefit from the citizenship that we have here in our nation and in the world.
And it's so interesting. As you were speaking, some light bulbs went off in my head, right? Because it was just like, I never really thought about it in the perspective that you were pointing out, in that we do come together if it's sort of like I can pick on my sister, but you can't pick on my sister. So we're going to come together and fight when it comes to that. But then as soon as it's over, we sort of go back into our own corners. And I never really looked at it like that. But as you were speaking, the picture started to be painted for me. And the other thing that I always think is interesting in relation to this topic is that for whatever reason, we always tend to look at the differences. And it's kind of like, why do we choose to go there, right? Why do we choose that first rather than choosing to look at what we connect on, what the similarities are, where the connections are? It's almost like when somebody asks you the positive things about you and the negative things about you, for whatever reason, we could come up with those bad things real quick. And the good ones we struggle with. And it kind of gives me that sort of sense. It's like, well, why do we go to the part that separates us rather than the thing that brings us together? So thank you for that, because I didn't really even look at it like that.
And I think there's like I feel, this is just me, like I said, this is me, so just one person. Right. But I sense there's like a fear that, you know, that if I just look at Al-Islam, or if I, you know, just, if I'm not too careful, you know,
Right. I'm gonna catch it.
Which may be true.
She might sneeze on me, and now I'm Muslim.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but alhamdulillah. But I mean, but seriously though, like it's just a head scratcher. Like I'll go to at the university, I see us rally around professors, and many times, or even if it's just us as African Americans, but we're using the institution to come together. But outside of institutional causes, just getting to know each other, you know, you find very few people who are willing to just be people with you, be a part of the same community with you. But yeah, so that's one strategy I feel that we can do to help us heal as a people.
Okay. So I'm going to jump into the next question, and we'll see where that takes us. So what is full freedom, and how do we qualify for full freedom? And this is sort of a three-parter. So I'm going to, if you need me to repeat any of them, I'll give it to you. Okay. So the first one is, what is full freedom? And then how do we qualify for it? And then what is the price for gaining that full freedom?
Yeah. So now I mean, I have reflections on full freedom, but I know Brother Bilal had some interesting distinctions between old freedom and new freedom. So I didn't know if you wanted to share more about full freedom before I answer.
Oh, me? Share more about full freedom? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I didn't know
yes. No. I mean, we would love to hear from you what full freedom means in terms of your studies. Yes, please. And then I'll share. I'll flow with whatever. I'll flow. Come, please.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was using the correct term. Okay.
No, you are.
Well, when I think of full freedom, I think of how Imam Muhammad tells us that really the freedom we were seeking was community freedom, not freedom as an individual. And he says that focus on just the freedom to do whatever you want to do is actually harmful. That's not what we were denied as a people. As a people, there were individuals who had decent situations. You know, they could maneuver and get around. Now, this wasn't many people, but overall, our biggest challenge was you couldn't, even form the most basic unit of community life, which is a family, and make decisions about your family. So for us, just keeping our eye on that the full freedom is community freedom, and it's not just giving me more things to do. Or more things I can do just because I can. And I think qualifying for that freedom, I mean, if it's community freedom, you've got to be a citizen, That's how you establish yourself as being free. Like if you look at Frederick Douglass and other historical figures, one of the most beautiful things about them is that they didn't wait for the law to tell them they were citizens. They just was like, the law needs to catch up because I'm already a citizen. So I think by living that way and living in a way where I am a citizen and what I do is going to reflect that, and not waiting for something to happen, like, well, call me when everything is just and call me when everyone believes I should be included. No, it's like, you're like, God put me here. Y'all gonna have to get with it. This is the reality. I don't know why you're not living in it. So I think just qualifying for that full freedom is just taking that citizenship and realizing you don't have to negotiate with anybody to have it. When Allah put us on this earth, each of us, no matter what cultural traditions we come from, no matter what ethnicity we are, He has already decided you have citizenship. He put you in this human family. You have it. And it's our responsibility to help grow up our brothers and sisters if they don't understand that. But we definitely don't walk away and, you know, sulk or be like, oh, well, they don't want me here.
Right.
It's like, that's not how
Right.
things happen.
Well, the latter, you know, what the latter statement that you just said, you know, always brings up the iconic image, of Imam Muhammad standing up with the flag, saying that if you're not going to pick this flag up, I will. And that, to me, you know, encompasses what we're talking about as far as full freedom. That, yes, you know, we understand that America and the world, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I'm saying? As America, we had a good past and perhaps we pray for a good future, but it also has had a share of bad and ugly past in some regards, dealing with our ancestors, you know, who were enslaved, and having them come over here to do free labor and help build this country to where it is today. So I just think that I know I'm of the belief that, you know, as the Imam said, that we can get our share. It's time for us to get our share, you know, our shared freedom space, our shared space. You know, everyone else has achieved that. You know, other ethnic groups, other groups of people, other communities have achieved what essentially they wanted out of the experience that they got here in America. You know, so that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, we as a people, you know, coming off of 400 years of enslavement and Jim Crow, you know, we had to go through a lot to even make it to where we are today. You know what I'm saying? And it's a blessing and it's a mercy to have had leadership through, like you said, Frederick Douglass and others, you know what I'm saying, who sincerely and authentically fought, died, shed blood for the fact that we want full freedom. It's not enough just to say, okay, I'm free, you know, I get to have no shackles on, but we're not mentally free now. And some of us are not even economically free, you know, on one sense. And full freedom, I think, encompasses all that. All of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to what you just said, Bilal, and then going back to some things that Khadijah mentioned. You know, it leads back, at least in my mind, that full freedom is associated first with self-awareness, right? So we talk about not waiting for someone to tell you that you're entitled to X, Y, and Z. Well, a lot of that comes with being self-aware, knowing that this is your birthright, so to speak. You know, this is when Allah, you know, granted for you to be here on earth. You came with it. You were born with it. You know, you came from your mother with the right to be able to live fully. And I think as a people, a lot of that got stripped away just from our experiences. So I think it's our responsibility also to instill that first and foremost in our children, to let them know that this, you know, this world is yours. It's yours, and to do with it, obviously, the positive, what you will, to live your life out fully. When I make my dua after I offer salat, I always ask Allah, and I've just been doing this recently, but allow me and my children to live fully, to live our everything that's in us. Let us live it and die empty, you know, because there's so much that we have inside, and a lot of people die with those dreams, with those passions, with those gifts, with inventions, with, you know, things that could change the world. They die with it inside of them because they weren't self-assured or weren't didn't have that awareness that this is yours. Allah gave it to you. He gave it to you for a reason. He gave it to you to live it out and live it out fully. So yeah, I definitely think that full freedom starts with having that self-awareness. And so where we see that it's missing, I feel like it's our responsibility to instill it, whether it's our children, whether it's, you know, even an adult, you know, listen, brother, listen, sister, you know, there's so much more to you than that. you know, and you can be and do, and you know, whatever it is that you want to be, fi sabilillah, and to benefit this world. So I love that we're having this conversation.
No, this question is good. We have a comment. We have a comment, and let's bring on the comment, shall we? This is from Brother Khalil Abdul Malik. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Khalil. He says, one way that the sense maker, Imam Sideeq-Mohammed, shared for us to come together with the Afro-American churches was not to wait for them, but to come for them to come to us. I guess that's what you meant to say, Brother Khalil. But we want to go or reach out to them first. But please have Sister Khadijah comment more on that, of us not waiting and per se we taking the initiative and establishing connection with our Christian brothers and sisters.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, we definitely shouldn't wait, you know, for people to do something that you know needs to be done.
Right.
And I also remember when he was having a conversation with some brothers, and this question had come up. It was like, but man, should we take this to the churches or anything like that? And he didn't, you know, suggest that we go and make anyone uncomfortable. If that's what they want to do, then we can do that. And the spirit I see in Imam Muhammad, and even how he taught, like his first Sundays were like translation between, it was actually very uniting. His language is very uniting. And I think just playing a first Sunday would probably be healing, you know, because he translates everything so that an audience that's African-American Christian or just Christian or just a person living in America could understand. I will say too to that, we have to make sure when we go, we have something that we're bringing. So,
Nice.
Not just going empty-handed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying literally, you know, but you know, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, I remember, I guess I'm going to take myself back to being in high school, and I was trying to figure out what the goal was of being Muslim was, like what the tangible goal was, like so I could be a part of that and make it happen. So I was like maybe a freshman, and I was just not able to sleep at night, and I was trying to figure what was it as Muslims as a whole, as worldwide community. And I'm like, are we trying to convert everybody? Like, what are we trying to do? You know? And I'm like, that just doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem like a real goal. But at the same time, I feel like on some level, that's how we go to people. We go to them, even though we have so much, even though we have the Quran, even though we have the Prophet's life, we just want one more person saying, I love the Quran and I love the Prophet's life, and want to be a part of this community. Maybe they want to study Imam Muhammad's language. But we ourselves haven't even tapped into what it means to say Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is our prophet.
Right.
So it's like, really, what are we inviting them to again? Right. So we have to make sure that, and to understand too, that, you know, the best dawah is your living of what it is you say you do, you know, and that's how I see us inviting our brothers and sisters. And one of the struggles I think we as a people have overall, whether it's in our community or in African American Christian communities, we are no longer united around what is moral. You know, our spirit is just kind of any way you want to go, you know. And honestly, I love music. Don't get me wrong. I love music. I love dancing. You know, I did a dance program here in Indianapolis. I love it. Nice. But music is not the spiritual leader in a community. Like, that's not how you get somewhere. You know? Right. But right now, if we're going to be honest, the people who are the spiritual leaders in our community are singers. They're musicians.
And poets, yeah.
They're the spiritual leaders in our community. They're the ones who bring the massive amounts of us together and make us feel united. Right. And that's problematic, especially because a lot of the popular music that we, even as Muslims, you know, I mean, there are Muslims among our community who can tell you all about what the Quran means, and then they would turn on a song that is just like, are you seriously listening to
Right. Did you hear the lyrics? Exactly.
So, but we feel like that's what it means to be African American. You know, we
Right.
listen to these songs, we do these dances. So, I mean, these are things. These are not small things. You know, these are not small things. And let somebody try to critique Beyonce. I mean, woe to you.
Yes.
You know, it's
The
scary.
beehive is coming, honey.
It's coming. So, I mean, and this is how. To me, I feel like that's a problem. I think it's a problem. Not that I have a problem. Not that I feel my personal taste in music should be established for our people. No, but like I say, I love music. I love dancing. But that's not the imam in the community. That's not the spiritual leader. But yet, that is what is happening. Is we are being led by clothing trends, you know, music, and you know, just fun life. And that is, like, to me, I see it just as much as in our community as I see it outside of our community.
Well, you bring up a good point, and I just want to talk about that just a little bit. That's not freedom. You see, when you know we're following a dead culture, Hollywood. Remember, Hollywood is when you knock on it, it's dead. It's shallow. It's nothing. It's nothing there. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about mainstream, culture, the mainstream culture has our people enslaved. It has castrated our men, you know, and has made mockery of our women, belittled our women, and it has destroyed the image of family life. If you don't have successful family life, how can you expect to have a successful community life? It's impossible. It's virtually impossible. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. So what the culture, that particular culture does is that they infuse that language, they infuse that messaging, that subliminal messaging into the conscious minds of those who are listening, either through the music or through the television or through whatever means that they can get it to you. And it usually starts out with the children at the youngest age. Commercialism, marketing usually starts out with the children. If they can get the children to believe something, because a child is a sponge. It's moldable. You know, it's like clay. You know, they absorb. You know what I'm saying? Us adults, when we get up to a certain age, we kind of, I'm not going to say we're less moldable, but, you know, we kind of stuck in our ways. You know, so it's hard to change us. You know, so, but my point is, I want to get to is that on this show and this platform that we have, the last few episodes, we have interviewed Muslim artists, some from our community and some from some of the affiliate communities that, you know, we socialize, we come together with during Eid, and they may come to our masajids for Jummah or whatever whatever functions. And a lot of them have expressed to us, if you go back, if some of the people who have been here on our journey go back and recall some of those sisters and brothers who have said that I cannot make a living off of my music. I cannot make a living off of my music because if I just talk about the deen, you know, just talk about that, then it's whack. It's perceived to be whack. What they say is whack. And, you know, and then you have the sisters I feel bad for, because the sisters, you know, they have one sister go in there and say that, well, she was about to sign on a record label. Right. And the dude who was in charge of the record label said, well, how big is your butt? And it blows my mind, because you said that those who have our attention, those who have the attention of the masses are the artists. But what about if it was the reverse? What about if those who are following the deen, who are in our community, have the attention of the world, which some of them do, which some of them have traveled the world, you know what I'm saying, and promote that? We have done a poor job in promoting those who can speak, not from a leadership standpoint or a spiritual standpoint, but can help bridge the gap between the ranks of the young community, the younger generation, and the old generation. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes. And I think, too, I want to be clear on what I'm saying here. It's my belief that music should not lead.
Right.
As beautiful as it may be, music is expression, it's not communication. Leadership needs to be clear. And that's what I say. I love music. The group that I work with, because Muhammad told me, he said, when you work with the young girls, don't let them hear this popular music. Don't let them hear it. So then we would go and like try to find different songs, different artists. And so I love music, and the music I consume is positive music. But the issue I'm having, like I say, is my personal taste in music. So it's not even so much like, I'm not even going to judge, but my issue is that morality should lead, not music. Music, it doesn't matter what it is. Just like cooking. Cooking is great. But the imam is not a cook. He can be a cook, but that's not how he leads the community. He doesn't lead us with our taste buds.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, is that we as a people fall in love with people who can wow us. Even when they teach us, like many people, they don't follow Imam Muhammad on understanding. They follow him on sound.
Yes.
They follow him on sound. They follow him on rhythm, such that people who come after him unconsciously start to even move like him. And people like that.
Oh man.
They're like, why he's just like you now. And I'm like, no, he's not.
Right.
But we follow people on feeling. And that's the concern I see. It's not so much, yes, there's a conversation to be had about supporting the artists that we have in our community. There is a conversation there. But when I'm looking at our condition as a people, it is the tendency to put people in serious positions in your life when they weren't offering anything other than good music. They didn't make any promises.
Right. And so as you were talking, I was thinking, a lot of times what we do is for those artists, right? We're looking for them, something happens, some sort of social injustice or unrest happens. And we're like, well, where's this artist and where's that artist? And I'm looking for them to say something. It's like, well, no, they didn't tell you that that's what they were offering. They said that I was coming to be able to display my talent and, sing, my songs or rap my music, but I'm not really interested in doing that whole social piece. And then we look for them to be this leadership that they didn't even tell us they wanted to be for the community.
Yeah, and it's like they can speak out, they can be quiet. Maybe, as a citizen, they may have a responsibility, how people may see it, but the pressure we put, like we look to them for guidance.
Right.
We deep. I've seen people analyze songs like they should be analyzed in the Quran, and I'm just like, what do you think?
Right. Yeah.
So, but this to me is a challenge for our people, because in essence, we're spiritual beings, and our leader is always a spiritual leader. And music, if you're not sure on what leadership looks like, music can definitely make you feel like you're moving, progressing together.
Right.
So and I see that as a challenge for us as a people, where we have to learn how to put music in its proper spot, and follow leadership. Because the thing about music too, and popular culture trends, when you don't like somebody, you just put them down. With a real leader, you
just don't let it go like that. Exactly.
You can't do it like that. So it does obligate you too. So I don't know if that might also be working in the back of our minds as well. It's like, I don't follow a leader, not in the sense that, let me clarify something too here. Our community, the word leader has such a depth that it doesn't carry in other people's communities. I don't think in other communities, the word leader has also been synonymous with someone who we believe is blessed by God. So when I'm saying just leadership in general, we not even necessarily our leader in our community, but we follow somebody in as much as we feel like it, in this moment we don't feel like it, then we stop. That's just basic, that's just basic. We're not even talking about the obligations. that are upon us when Allah blesses you with excellent individuals to lead you out of your circumstance, and they're competing with artists, and it's not intelligent, I guess is the thing. It's like we can't be complicit in that. Like I think Imam Muhammad's lectures are excellent to listen to, but he talks about our issue as a people. And in 2007 Savior's Day address, he goes through the issues. He just unpacks them one by one and shows us. And one of the issues was that we allow whatever we see to lead us. If we see someone on TV, you see them, and now the time we see them on social media, somehow we begin to think like those people are our leaders, whether we say it or not. We are unconsciously or consciously getting how we dress, how we dance, how we perceive beauty, how we relate to one another. All of that is coming from people who, they never said that they were going to plan the whole community life. They just wanted to sing what was inside of them and offer that up to the community. But they didn't intend that. I don't think they intended for that to become the guiding force in the community.
So we're coming up on the little past the halfway point, and I would like to do a station identification and thank everybody for tuning in once again to New Freedom Exchange. If you're tuning on Facebook, thank you for tuning on Facebook. If you're tuning on YouTube, thank you for tuning on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, New Freedom Exchange. Please like the page, New Freedom Exchange on Facebook. And one last announcement for now is that we do have a Patreon account for our daily digital campaign, which we're launching this month of August during what they call New Africa August now. Brother Sharif Abdul Malik from We Buy Black, a proud member of this community who has helped to establish that platform, has having 31 days of free virtual workshops. You can go to newafricaaugust.com or webuyblack.com and register now still for the free workshops that he's doing. But we are looking for subscribers for our daily show. That is down, the website is down there, patreon.com/NFX daily. Now, before we go any further, I know we have a lot of comments. The comment section is booming.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to. I want to bring up this point because I think this is a good one right here. This is from Brother Sideeq-Mohammed. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Bari. Thank you for tuning in. He asks, do you think it will help our quest for real freedom if we start by identifying our own faults and stop always pointing the microscope at other people and giving ourselves a time frame in terms of moving step by step towards community life and stop all this playing around with just conversations?
Okay. Let me see. Can you pull the question up again one more time?
Sure. Well, if I would leave it up there.
Thank you.
No problem.
So I think the first thing is, yes, we've got to start with ourselves. And in the community space, we have to have the courage to start with our most close relations. Like, really, the things that go down in the world are just because brothers and sisters were too afraid to tell their brothers and sisters that they need to stop. But I mean, if you think about everyone who committed a crime and everyone who did something that was unbecoming, they have a family. And if we, start our justice mission at home, the world would be a much better place, starting with our communities and our families.
Right.
I hear a lot about people saying conversations and talking versus action. And I agree that pointless conversations are truly pointless and they should not be had. But the thing about a community is that we have to learn how to talk to each other.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
if you see the Congress, we're able to live peaceably next door to each other because we have representatives that hash it out every day of the week. If we don't have a space in our community for people to respectfully submit their differences, we don't have a community. So I guess I want to say is that I want us to start to see the purpose of speech and not to group every time we see people talking that they are somehow taking up the space from action. Whereas it's that talk that allows us to act as united front, instead of multiple people doing very different things and eventually competing and then eventually fighting.
Right.
Well, I just want to interject because this is good. I just want to interject this this aspect of, I agree totally 100% with what you just said. I absolutely agree. No, there's no doubt. I think we have a poor communication skills in terms of how we communicate with each other, and I think that's trickled down, and it's from the leadership, how they address the believers in the Jama'at, and then also how the congregants address each other in the congregation. So I'm saying I think that's the issue too. And one thing that you did say too, I agree with, is again, charity and community life starts at home. It starts with your children. It starts with building healthy family life. I can't reiterate that again. And this other notion, there's a notion like that I want to address, is that this notion of, well, everyone's just conversating just to conversate. We don't, like you said, I don't want to. We want to take away from all the conversations that's happening, because there's a lot of good conversations happening, especially now. Given the circumstance, given the social climate that we're in, given what's going on across the country, across the world, there's a lot of conversations that have risen out of these circumstances, and I think that they all deserve an ear to see what's being talked about, what's being said, and I think people need to make decisions. They can make decisions for their own if this sits well with your spirit, or this does not sit well with your spirit. Let that be the decision that you make. You know what I'm saying? But don't jump the gun and judge the book by its cover. Then my last interjection was the fact that we have this other thing of we expect that the people in leadership, or the imams or whoever in leadership, do everything for us. No, this is not. Where happened to Shura Bainahum? See, Congress. You brought up Congress. Congress has committees. They have committees for each concern, or each crucial concern, to address that crucial concern. A committee, and that committee has to come back to report to the body, right? And then the bodies does what? They take 2/3. They take a vote, and majority rules, which is 2/3. Generally 2/3 of a vote, right? Where did they get that from? They get that from al-Islam. They get that from the tradition of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on how we govern, how the Muslims govern. There's no doubt. So when we stop playing around with the fact, if we want to really get funky, when we stop playing around with what the Prophet instructed us to do, and start really living by how the Prophet governed, how the Prophet ran a community, how the Prophet dealt with the Christians and the Jews, really look at the contract, look at the constitution that the Muslims drew up for Medina and the establishment, then we can really have really dig deep. But I don't think people are missing those points, that the Prophet wasn't just the dude just led people in prayer. It was much more. It was prayer, and after prayer, you establish. After the establishment, you establish something. You know what I'm saying? And it has to be governed by a code of ethics, based upon a code of ethics and a code of morals. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to infuse that into the conversation.
And I want to add too. Because what I heard you say, sis, was that those conversations are important. That's what I took away from what you said, right? That it is important, a lot of these conversations that are being had. And I get that it feels like there's a lot of talking and less action. I get that, because there are some circles that I'm in that I'm just like, okay, come on guys, let's move.
Right, sure.
But I do value the fact that the conversations have to happen. And from my perspective, I feel like the conversations need to happen because they haven't happened for so long. There are certain things that we haven't talked about as people, as communities, in our families, you know, in our homes, that needed a conversation. You know, a lot of times we just kind of walked past it or swept it under the rug, or whatever it was, whatever the topic may be. And so those conversations are key, because even in conversing with you today, right, there's certain things that you said to me or said to us, you know, and to our listening audience that sparked my mind, right? And so that doesn't happen in silence.
Nope.
That doesn't happen in silence. That doesn't happen by happenstance. And these type of conversations, at least that we're having right now, are the fuel to move the needle forward.
And I wanted to add to it, I think what people might be trying to say is that, because like there are different types of conversations. There are conversations to hear expressions, you know, and expressions, they're exactly that. People just need it to release.
Right.
And we are supposed to try to piece it back together because they're not able to put it, they're under so much stress or pain, and they just need to release. And we don't even really in those situations hold people to logical constructions. We're just like, okay, we're here to hear you.
Right.
So those by design don't end in any, you know, direct line action.
Right.
But there are conversations that have to end in consensus. But see, this is the difficult part, because everybody wants to be a free person, like individually free. They want a community when they want something, but not when they have to do something.
Right.
So, and these conversations when you start them, we have to come to an agreement that if I can convince you, you must support, and vice versa. It's kind of like the purpose of a real healthy debate. We're going to vigorously argue our sides, but as Muslims, truth has consequences. And if you can show me the truth, whether it was my former position or not, I am obligated to change and give you my full support. And those kinds of conversations, I don't know how many of them we're having.
Right.
That would be nice. And then that way, I think I think that's what the brother might be pointing to, is that where is the result of conversations? But but sometimes the way it's said, because I hear it said in lots of places, that sometimes they're stepping on places that are trying to start this conversation or encourage it. But we do need to have consensus conversations where everyone understands that we're entering into this as different ideas and we're exiting as one action.
Yes.
So we're going to do something, and we're going to take a consensus, and we're going to be united, and we're going to do something as a result of having truth finding mission and truth sharing to get us all to see reality in the same way so we can act intelligently.
And I'm so glad that you just made the point that you made, because I think that's the key right there, is that we enter the conversation without stating the goal of it. And so when you do that, you're bound to have it go anywhere, right? But when you start it off and say, listen, this is the end goal. We are looking to come to this consensus. So we can have the conversation, but just know that at the end, we're figuring something out. We're just not having this conversation to have it. And I think a lot of rooms that we're in, when we're having these conversations, we don't start it off with the end in mind.
And to add to what you're saying too, is to have the discipline that once something is decided, leave it alone.
That's it. It's done.
and as members in the community, I'm not hearing it. We brought it before the community.
It's done.
You had your chance to vet. You know, maybe in the next cycle you can bring it up again, but we can't be doing any of this back channel talk. We need to do something. It needs to be done so it can be effective. Essentially, it's like, let's keep in mind what our conversations, where are they moving towards? If they're just undercutting the strength in the community, that's not wise. When Allah has blessed, if Allah has blessed a community with a forum that harnesses the diversity of thought of the community members, and there is a way for you to share your difference of opinion, it's not good to, after all of that, you hashed it all out, you know, the decision is made, and then someone's like, well, I really didn't like it. Like,
right. Like, well, don't matter at this point. We decided, but yeah.
So let's see. We just got to an hour, and I know this conversation. See how time just goes when
it does.
We're building so fast, and things is having a very fruitful conversation. So I do want to ask Sister Khadijah, if you mind entertaining at least one more comment from the audience, because the comments is jumping, and I know we didn't even get through the questions that we initially had. So I'll let you decide. Do you want to do one question from us, from the questions that we have, or do you want to take one more question from the audience?
I can take one more question from the audience.
Sure, perfect. And I got the one just for you.
Okay.
So this is from Brother Abraham Wishnov. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Abraham Wishnov. Thank you for tuning in. He says, Assalamu alaikum. He said, in light of full freedom, how do we guide our late teens and 20-somethings to stay vulnerable and willing to fall forward in the wake of generational trauma, many times left undeciphered? Wow. Ooh-wee.
That's heavy.
That's an action-packed one.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't know how equal I am to the task of answering your question, but I will try to maybe be in the same space with your question. I think that the biggest thing our community needs is the spirit that holds us together. And when we don't have that spirit, we are left, adults, young people, we're left pulled in different situations and different perspectives and different lifestyles and in different dispositions towards what we're willing to do as the future goes forward. So I think the biggest thing that we can do in guiding our youth or the young adults here is to come together in the spirit that God has given us to unite around. When we don't, I guess one thing I want to say too, because we talk a lot about children, but this is something I want to say to add to this, because I want to have the freedom to comment on a community as a whole. Adults need community too.
Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
Need community just as much as children. And there are adults who are struggling, namely every adult. So don't start thinking about somebody else. And we need community. We need it. We need it for our identities. We need it to, envision who we can be, what we're working for, how to work, how will I change in the future? So we need that. And I feel like by not showing our up and coming adults that there's even safety in adulthood, that's something too to look forward to. It's just like, what does it mean to be a part of this community? As they're approaching adulthood, those who are closest to us see the ways in which we struggle. And are they seeing, wow, there's this nice community that's supporting my loved one in the various areas of life they're struggling with, or not? So I think that just really working to make this model community a reality. And I want to add to that as well that the model community is not physical structures. it is expressed in physical structures, but it is not a physical structure. And I think that is kind of how we approach community life. If somehow I get a big building, community life will happen. And I mean, you wouldn't think of a marriage that way, you know. You don't think, you know, you got problems in your marriage and you think I'm gonna go get a big house, and then all of a sudden, voila, you know, our marriage is perfect now. No. Now our family life will wisely be expressed through our home. Like if we need more rooms, we'll get them. We need, you know, a yard, we'll get a yard. But the key is when we need it, and its response is responding to what our life needs. And I have to apologize to the brother with the question, because I think that's one of those questions you have to go home.
Sit with.
And sit with. But I like I said, I'll think in the same space, because I'm thinking the space is we have a responsibility to nurture and guide and listen to and respond to the needs of those in our community. And how can we do that? But you know that, and again, like I said earlier, I'm one person, and I think the key is hearing the different perspectives in the community.
I want to add one more thing to that.
Go ahead.
So at the point where he says, how can we got our teens and 20-somethings to stay vulnerable, right? That word vulnerable is just sticking out to me. And what comes to my mind just really quickly is don't be fake. I think our young people are looking for us to be real about everything, you know, because that's what helps them to sort of gravitate to what it is that they may feel like we're preaching to them, so to speak. It is to be real about it and to not be fake about anything, and not to try to make any of this experience feel like some pie in the sky thing. Because they're, especially for those of us who are living one thing and professing another thing, right? That confusion comes in for them, and they're kind of like, well, why would I bite onto this? You know, Khadijah, you said earlier, like, what are we bringing? What are we offering, right? And then we talked about our lives being the dawah. So I think at least my contribution to the response to that question would be just to be real. And I'm not even talking about being real with people that you don't know. I'm saying be real with the people in your house. Be real with your children. Be real with the people that you have influence over, because they're looking at us. And when we talked about the whole leadership piece, and maybe even taking that, looking at musicians and trying to make them leaders for things that they chose not to be in leadership positions for. Well, in our families, we are leaders, and in our circles, we are leaders, and you know, and for the people that we have influence over, we are leaders. And anytime that we're not being authentic, that's the word. Anytime that we're not being authentic about us and our experience, at least for those young people, and I'm not saying it's not the case for older people, but at least for those young people, they can sniff that out, and it's almost like a turnoff. Yeah, so that would be my contribution to the response, is just to be authentic, stay real, and you know, live your life in a way that is seen as dawah, because that's what it is.
Yep.
Alhamdulillah. Wow. Such an impactful conversation exchange. That's what we do here on New Freedom Exchange, and we have had the honor and blessing to be with Sister Khadijah Sideeq-Mohammed, and we welcome her to New Freedom.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
You know, welcome her to New Freedom. Welcome her to this platform. Obviously, we couldn't get through all the questions in the comments, and there will be, inshallah, there will be a part 2 to this conversation. because there are some comments in the comment section that are very important that we're not able to get to. But quick station identification one more last time for announcement. Tonight we are double booked show. At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please return back here to YouTube and to Facebook. We will be having our beloved brother Preacher Moss, world-renowned comedian and also educator, will be joining us to celebrate his platform, which is today is his 100th episode of the Shout Out Show. For those who have been following his platform, he is the creator of Allah Made Me Funny platform, which was iconic, in the sense that it pioneered during a time where post 9/11, happened, and he took that and he ran with it. So he will be with us to celebrate his 100th episode of the Shout Out Show, which has been going on since the holy month of Ramadan, and just talking with us and having a conversation with us. So we welcome him. One last thing, a couple of more housekeeping rules. We would like to shout out to Khadijah-Mohammed. It's her platforms here. We want to give people a chance to write these links down and go to visit her websites. Is Sideeq-Mohammed.org is one. Before you let us go, can you just briefly? I'm sorry, I don't want to keep you up too long. Keep you on too long. But can you give the believers what you're doing now with your time now? I know that you have a course. You're teaching courses in Islamic studies and etc. So you have that, and you have these the calltolife.org and sunicom.org. Can you talk to the believers just briefly about those platforms and just briefly, please?
Yes, certainly. So Sideeq-Mohammed.org is just kind of like where I write and post the little brief articles that I write about community life. And it's not like any type of newspaper where I publish every single time. I believe if I have nothing to say, I shouldn't say anything. So if it's the end of the week and I ain't got nothing to say, then we post it. But but alhamdulillah, the things that are posted, I think that they're good for multiple reads. And the A Call to Life website is geared mainly towards youth and programs for the youth. Right now it's under construction, but that is it's under renovation, I guess. But that is the web address for it. SUNICOM is the site where I teach classes on the language of Imam Muhammad to show people the power of his language, because I don't think people see the utility in it, and so I try to help people to see what we can do with his language, and that the community that we hope to build is actually, the building blocks are right there in the language, and it's not a matter of, I guess I'll say it this way. I see a lot of people can draw the line of encouragement to build community life to Imam Muhammad's words. But what seems to happen is after we got the idea to, let's say, go into business, we leave Imam Muhammad's language and we pick up the language of the business world to construct our businesses, and to, we may add a bismillah at the top, we may sell a scarf, but at the end of the day, the language, the community life language is not ours. And when you begin to study, you can see it clothes that don't match. You're like, whoa, what are you doing with that? And I see that as, for many of us, not all of us, but there's too many spaces, I guess I'll put it this way, there's too many spaces in our community where the believers are in their personal lives, staunch students of Imam Muhammad, staunch, members of our community, applying his language in their daily life. But when it moves to the level of the institutions they're establishing in the community, even the ways in which we may work together as a masjid, it's wait, this is like a club. This is not a community. This is like a Kiwanis club.
We got a lot of clubs.
Yeah, and it's not. I'm not saying this to say, oh yeah, that's funny. I'm saying this is why we have to do what many people want to do, which is allow our community life concepts and institutions that take physical form to be written and planned in Imam Muhammad's language, and the guidance is there, and it's not in some, mysterious or spooky way. It's like very clear. But that's the work I do at sunicum.org is encouraging people to sign up. But the key is people may not be used to engaging. And when you sign up for a course, it's different. I don't know how other things are always, but I do see many platforms where a dynamic speaker is invited and they really are dynamic. And everyone else is there to listen. That's great. But in these spaces, don't come to hear me. I'm going to be like, what y'all doing? Did you come up with something? They'll be like, well, you're not going to tell us? No, I ain't going to answer. You got to figure it out. So it makes people become, take responsibility for the community life instead of finding a dynamic superstar to do it for them, and to know that I know Imam Muhammad's language, and I'm now responsible. And because of that, it takes time. So our short little classes, and they're short, they're just 3 a month because people are normally a little bit scared by the full one, which is for 4 years. They're like, I'm like, you've been studying Imam Muhammad's language for 30. Like, what is 4 years going to do? But it's scary when people look at it. And just to get people to see that this is something that does require time. And I'll say this too, we often say what we think about a subject based upon how much time we think we need to master it. So I would never think that I can master calculus by going to random attendances on Sunday at the masjid, and I don't even show up with, my notes or anything. But yet that's how we approach Imam Muhammad's language. So do we think that, a math class requires more of us than the language that will found our community? So we've got to start showing that we believe there's something there that will take 4 years to unfold. But if you think, listen to the lecture, I'm like, you're selling our community short, and you're underestimating our leader by light years, by showing with our commitment and our vision as far as how long it would take, for me to understand the language of Imam Muhammad. I'm like, we don't do it justice. So the classes are also to help heal that habit. Like, no, you're not going to come and, roll out of bed and, remember one quote from the lecture. No, you got to tell me where each where each piece goes and why. Why is it there? Why did he say that here? Why? And then people, when you do that, Allah starts to bless you because you earned it, right? You didn't earn it before. So, but alhamdulillah, this is my love, and I'm sorry I'm talking. But
no,
go for it.
Please.
This is what I love to do. And the thing is, too, there was, we talk a lot about what other communities have. Mm-hmm. We are actually in the best position as a people. Our biggest issue is really believing that we could have something of value that people don't already have. And I don't mean thinking that we are personally important. I think a lot of people translate Imam Muhammad being amazing as themselves being amazing. Like, if you know it, like you say, yeah, he's great because, you get to represent him, all your circles. You get to be Imam Muhammad at your school and, wherever you go. But do we really see us as a unit as amazing? Or is it just, because I am speaking his language right now, then people need to listen to me at work or at school, and therefore I will say his language is amazing. But we really are struggling to believe that we have something that, not just for purposes of show, the world needs it. Like this, the one thing the world wants right now, they don't want another iPhone. They don't want another technology. They don't, I mean, no, expect these things. That's how
Right.
much they don't want it. They expect it. You know,
Right.
it's not like a prayer going up for a new iPhone. We know it's coming and we wish maybe that it wasn't. I don't know. Some people, parents may not want it to come, but the real thing that's struggling right now is that communities all across the globe have suffered from some pretty recent historical trauma on the community scale, whether it is colonialism or really it was mostly colonialism for people and for us, slavery. And they, for the life of them, cannot figure out how to get democracy, get community life back rolling. They've tried all types of political strategies, you know, doing votes and things like that, and countries are still not feeling themselves whole. But we as a people, you know, our stability just on the level we are, it's a miracle. I mean, it is just an absolute miracle. Like right now that we're able to have this conversation as intelligent people.
Mhm.
And many communities are still struggling from their community life trauma. And if we can actually be a model community, we can show people how to put themselves back together, because we're right there at we just have to cross the finish line. That's all we have to do. We just have to decide to finish the race and cross the finish line. But there's so much we have. And it's not even, I don't even know how much sense I'm making because I don't have that much time. But
No, you
essentially,
make a lot of sense. Making a lot of sense, sister.
study
No, you.
Muhammad's language and not like you read, you know, the back of the cereal box while you're eating. Like actually study it, you know.
Right.
Take some time and study in community so people can challenge you as well. So let's see.
Oh man, it's hard. It's hard to let you go, sister.
I know.
You know,
This
so
is great. This
it's
is
so-
great. I don't
it's
know
so-
so many things in this notebook that is sitting here on my on my table. So I mean, I'm just thankful that we were able to chat it up with you today. You have a beautiful spirit. I just want to acknowledge that. Super intelligent. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for the work that you do. We all have a torch that we need to be picking up and carrying and to play our part. And I'm just thankful that you did that, you know, from your perspective, and you're impacting the community in the way that is the best fitting for you.
Alhamdulillah. And it is an honor to be here and to meet you all and to talk with you all. It's very beautiful. Alhamdulillah, I'm thankful for this opportunity.
No, thank you. We thank you. And before we sign off, don't forget, we want to tell our viewership to don't forget to go to www.sunicom.org if you want an in-depth study of who Imam Sideeq-Mohammed is, what he means, not to just us in the African American Muslim community, but to the whole Muslim world and just the world in general. Please go to support the sister and what she's doing as far as, you know, continuing the language, continuing this extensive study. You know, extensive study. This is no, like she said, it's no flam. This is no like artificial joint. This is not like you can just sign up and just, you know, go to one class, you know, all the calculus. Please take your time and digest the material. This is what the sister has done, and she's still learning. We are all still learning. We're all still growing in this community and as students of Imam Muhammad, and we are just thankful to have the sister on, to also is a very erudite and dynamic sister. And just one more thing, don't forget, 9 o'clock tonight, we are with Preacher Moss, 9 p.m. Eastern, same platform, same YouTube and Facebook. Also, your former classmate, this is a cherry on top. Your former classmate, Sister Sideeq-Mohammed, Imam Rashad Abdul Rahman from Atlanta, by way of Milwaukee. He's next week will be hosting his segment on the importance of establishing Islamic institutions. The importance of establishing Islamic institutions will be live streamed here on New Freedom Exchange on YouTube and Facebook at 2 p.m. That's next Sunday at 2 p.m. So please come on back for that. And again, we thank you all for tuning in. and spending some time with us this evening. We hope that this conversation led to some benefit. We hope that we leave here with some tangible items to go back and listen and start implementing in our lives and also in our families and in our communities. And with that, we leave everybody with the same universal greetings of peace and blessings to everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good night.
Assalamu alaikum.
They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no game. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No, my ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Now, in concluding this, when the slave traders and the black traders of Africa, traitors, different, traitors, when the slave traders and the traitors of Africa called themselves Muslims, for fighting each other and carrying on and weakening their people over there so that the white traders come in there and get us, take us on slave ships and bring us here. Now, all right? Yeah. So now, when all that happened, what you think was happening to our human soul? Let me tell you, God has given me an eye to see into the very abstract form of the human being by my study of the Quran. Yes. Now, I'm going to tell you what was happening. I know, as if I was there. The soul of those victims had given up on this world. They knew they were going to their death. They knew they were going to circumstances that were going to finish them off. They would never have their lives again. They knew that. But in their soul, they were saying, our children will one day be free again, and they will serve God. We have failed, but our children will one day serve God. And now their prayer that they prayed in the deep recesses of their soul has come true. And not only of the descendants of the black people of Africa, from Islam coming to Islam, taking up the divine cause. But those who never were Muslims, their children from Christianity, their children from Judaism, their children from paganism are embracing Islam in America. And we are going to build New Africa. New Africa, right here in the United States. Allahu Akbar. And the soul of those suffering victims, they're rejoicing because of us here today.